WTVF urges your support of the Rochelle Center. They're voting on the east side of New York City. Good morning. It is the big day, and before you go off to vote, we're going to give you a recap of what's happened overnight. Campaign 84 is almost history, so we're going to the historians. First this morning, Daniel Burston, William Leuchtenberg, and James McGregor Burns. Is this a national realignment similar to Roosevelt's victory in 1932? We'll try and get an answer to that question. Phyllis George, Walter Cronkite is with us to talk about television and this campaign. And a little bit later, a man who has nothing at all to do with politics. A lot of people are probably looking forward to that. Richard Leakey of Kenya. All coming up.
Now, the polls opened at 6 o'clock this morning in New York. Did you vote?
You're saying I have no excuse, but I'm working right now,
okay,
this afternoon.
Right. You were on
please.
the air at 6. Okay, also this morning, Bill, Robert Krulwich with a Wall Street view of the election of 84. Something you might want to think about for an election day dessert. A look at a pro-football controversy with the Supreme Court as referee. And Maria Shriver on Hollywood's newest political candidate. Bill with the news now.
Now it's your turn. Sometime today, some 90 million voters are expected to go to the polls, and among them, President Reagan, who votes in California. That's where he staged his final campaign rally, aiming a last pitch at a Democratic foe, but not Walter Mondale.
This is the most important election in this nation in 50 years. And if we're to win it, we must win more than the presidency. We need a Congress that will tell Tip O'Neill that his days of obstructing the progressive legislation.
He never did get a chance to finish that sentence. Mr. Reagan will follow the election returns in Los Angeles, where our John Ferrugia joins us this morning. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Bill.
I know it's early out there, but what is the mood in the Reagan camp?
Well, Bill, the president and his advisors are understandably upbeat. The polls show that Mr. Reagan is leading by over 20 points. He won't openly predict victory, but last night, just to give you an idea, as we flew into Los Angeles on Air Force One, he served champagne to all of us on board. It's no secret the president and his people believe the election is over. The question for them now is just how long will his coattails be? That is, how many Republican candidates will he pull into office with him?
How many does he think he will get in the House toward a coalition of some sort?
Well, Bill, before his first debate with Walter Mondale, Reagan campaign aides were talking about winning 24 seats, and that was a lot. Now they're predicting they'll pick up only 12 to 15. While the president is personally very popular, as you know, many of his programs are not, especially in the farm states, and voters seem to be showing their dissatisfaction, especially in those farm states, by voting against local Republicans. Now, if this trend holds, it could be quite a boost for the Democrats, who would keep a stronghold on the House, and that would enable them to severely hamper Mr. Reagan's congressional agenda.
He can put together the new Republicans with the conservative Democrats to form some kind of a coalition there in the House. But what about the Senate? Now 55-45. Any problem for the Republicans?
Well, Bill, in the Senate, the president's strategists believe they'll retain control, but they plan on maybe a net loss of 2 seats. Roger Jepsen in Iowa is in real trouble. They don't expect him to win. In Illinois, Charles Percy's in a very close race with Democrat Paul Simon, and conservative Republican Jesse Helms is fighting for his political life in North Carolina. So while the president's party will likely retain a majority, it could be a very slight majority by tomorrow morning.
Thank you, John Ferrugia. Let's go to the other side. Walter Mondale is back home again in Minnesota to vote near his home in North Oaks. In his final rally in St. Paul, he talked of his long-shot battle for victory and about his political mentor, Hubert Humphrey.
Whatever the result tomorrow, I've given this campaign everything I've got to win.
For more on the final hours of the Mondale campaign, let's go to Minneapolis, where Peter Van Sant is standing by. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Bill.
He has been saying the polls are wrong all along, that he indeed is going to win. Do you think he really believes that?
I think if Walter Mondale is anything, he is a realist. Last night in his final speeches, he did say, help me pull off the biggest political upset in history. So he realizes it's going to be a very tough day, and it's going to take a miraculous come-from-behind effort to win.
In order to win, what are the critical states he would have to do well in?
We're going to have to look out to the east first, particularly New York State. I think if he has a chance of beating President Reagan, he's going to have to pull an upset victory in New York. Right now, it looks as though Mr. Reagan will carry his home state of California and Texas with those two big electoral prizes in his camp. Mondale will have to take New York. Then we'll look towards Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Illinois, and Michigan, Ohio. Those are states that if Mondale wants to be president, he will have to win.
In that final rally, Mr. Mondale looked quite tired. His voice was breaking. It indeed seemed like the end of a long, long campaign. What is the mood at this hour?
Well, John Ferrugia mentioned there was champagne served on the Reagan plane last night. There was also champagne on the Mondale plane. They are keeping as good a face as you can on the campaign, and they are holding out hope. It's not over till it's over, and there's talk of 100 million people turning out to vote. If they get a big turnout, they say, who knows, maybe 1948 all over again, and Mondale will pull off the upset victory. So whereas they are realists, they realize it's going to be tough, there's still hope.
On that hope, thank you, Peter Van Sant, reporting live this morning from Minnesota. Geraldine Ferraro will vote in Queens, New York this morning after a final day of rallies in 3 cities at one appearance with her family looking on. She said it hasn't always been easy, but it's been worth it for all of us. George Bush ended a day of Texas campaigning in Houston, where he will cast his ballot. The vice president told one rally that today's election is a choice between the great communicator and the Great Depression. In keeping with another ancient constitutional tradition, Britain's Queen Elizabeth, accompanied by Prince Charles and Princess Diana, rode a coach through London today to Parliament. There, the Queen delivered her annual speech opening the legislative session. Security precautions were very elaborate. Armed detectives dressed in royal livery were stationed throughout the Palace of Westminster. About 130 passengers and crew of a hijacked Saudi Arabian airliner were freed this morning in Tehran. The plane was en route from London to Riyadh overnight when it was forced to fly to Iran. The Iranian news agency reports Iranian security forces arrested the hijackers and freed everyone else on board. A California judge has reinstated criminal charges against director John Landis and 4 others stemming from a fatal accident on a movie set 2 years ago. Landis and the others were ordered to stand trial for involuntary manslaughter and recklessness in the deaths of actor Vic Morrow and 2 children. They were killed by a helicopter during the filming of this war scene for The Twilight Zone, the movie. And here we go again. A presidential election day tradition. The vote is in from Dixville Notch, New Hampshire. Get your pencil and paper. Out of 30 votes cast, the count was 29 for President Reagan and 1 for Walter Mondale. The vote was taken at midnight among 21 Republicans, 5 Democrats, and 4 independents. Don't worry, that vote doesn't always go for the winner. Tomorrow is when we tell you who and how much. Today we search for some perspective. In our morning news cover story, a look at what is really at stake when you go to the polls. The history lesson coming up.
Time now 8 minutes past the hour, and throughout the morning we'll be telling you when the polls close all around the country.
Improve your lot and life. A distinctive carport, patio, enclosure, or breezeway is the best idea you'll have today. For a free estimate and planning, call 254-7504. Spurlock and Carter.
Many early American farmers relied on homemade wooden sleds for heavy hauling. Mr. Kyle Bowling carefully selects, cuts, and shapes hickory and poplar to make sleds the old-fashioned way. At JFG, we make our coffee with a great old-time flavor. And to seal in all the just roasted goodness, we vacuum pack JFG Special Coffee. For quality, freshness, and rich flavor, try JFG Special Coffee.
It's Castnernaut's biggest sale of the year. Shop early for incredible savings. Stores open 8:30 a.m. tomorrow.
It's Castnernaut.
They've already done the hard part. All we have to do is vote.
Time now 9 minutes past the hour, and in Monday Night Football, the Redskins beat the Falcons 27-14.
Redskins quarterback Joe Theismann didn't allow a sprained thumb to stop him from carrying Washington to a 27-14 victory over the Atlanta Falcons. Despite the injury, Theismann completed 19 of 25 passes for 170 yards, including a final 7-yard touchdown to Calvin Muhammad. The win puts the Redskins in a 4-way tie for first place in the NFC Eastern Division. That's with Dallas, St. Louis, and the Giants.
You really know that, don't you?
How about those Giants, huh?
Oh, the Giants are unstoppable, as they say.
I think the question everybody everybody wants to know today is how is the weather going to be across the country for voting?
You know, speaking of the weather, it's a real blitz of cold air coming across the states, but really not enough to do any damage in terms of stopping you from getting outside. I'll show you where the cold story is. Actually, it's across the board from the north to the south and east and west. 44 degrees now in Memphis, Tennessee. They have some frost and freeze warnings extending all the way down to portions of Georgia and Alabama and Mississippi. It hasn't been this cold in a very long time, but the sun will be out and it shouldn't hamper at least the eastern third of the country. 25 degrees now in Chicago. A lot of rain showers still lingering around the East Coast, but no big deal. Those will be pushing out to sea. And at the same time, we've got a developing storm in the northwest, and I'll show you more about that as we take a look at the latest satellite. Now, you're going to see the clouds looping around. This is all the way back to 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. That's why it rained in Northern California. There were some snow showers in Idaho and portions of Montana. So in terms of today's forecast, here's what you can expect for the big Election Day weather. Those clouds will give way to about 3 to 6 inches of snow in general, but that's only going to be in the mountains for the most part, and it's going to be in that area. Really beautiful skies for today's call for most of the southwest. The southern plateau is in great shape, about 43 degrees by the end of the day in northern Illinois, so not really as bad as it seems this morning. I know it's awfully chilly outside. 78 degrees in El Paso, carry those same temperatures into Los Angeles, about 67 there, but the weather to watch, maybe a few travelers advisories for the mountains, gusty winds as it warms a little bit more up in the northern plains, but a nice Election Day forecast. That's a look at the weather. Here's a look at some temperatures and forecasts for some other locations around the nation.
The Election Day forecast sounds like a winner. For Nashville, it'll be sunny and cool with the high about 58 degrees. Tonight will be clear and cold with frost likely, the low near 35. And tomorrow fair and not as cool, the high around 65.
I'll tell you more about Election Day and the day after in the next half hour. Phyllis?
Thank you, Steve. Election Day 1984. At stake, along with the presidency, are 33 Senate seats, 13 governorships, 435 seats in the House of Representatives. A big day, and polling officials are bracing for a big turnout. Possibly more than 95 million Americans are expected to cast ballots, and we hope you'll be one of them. Please vote today. Over the past few days, we've been talking with Americans from across this country, asking them if they plan to vote and why. And you'll have a chance to listen to some of their responses throughout this morning's broadcast, starting now.
Well, I can't stand people that complain that haven't voted, number one. I mean, it's not only a right, but it's a privilege to vote. You have a chance to select a candidate of your choice. And if you have any complaints, it's your own fault.
I really don't feel any of the candidates are worth voting for.
I always vote. I think it's our duty to vote as citizens of the United States, and I'm always very proud to vote.
I believe that the only way we can change things that are going wrong or keep the things that are going right going is to get out there and vote. Being an American citizen, I think first and foremost, that's one of the freedoms that we have to make that choice. And I intend to be there.
And we hope you intend to be there too. So go out and vote and then come on back and join us as we add it all up. With all the excitement of an election, it's easy to forget that there's more at stake than just who wins or who loses. Elections can set our national priorities for years to come, and we'll talk about all that next.
The time now, 13 minutes past the hour, and here's when the polls close in some more states around the country.
I don't pretend to have all the answers to all the complex problems that face our nation. But I do believe that many solutions can be found if we'll just work together. If we use our common sense, we can balance the federal budget and get these interest rates down. If we use our common sense, we can protect Social Security and reduce the threat of nuclear war. And if we'll just use our common sense, we can put America back to work.
Your environment can be everything you ever imagined, and more. The reality begins at Bradford's.
What's this?
It's
sure isn't our macaroni and cheese.
Introducing Velveeta Shells and Cheese Dinners.
Why did Mommy switch?
Velveeta Shells and Cheese Dinners taste creamier because we start with creamy Velveeta cheese sauce, not a powder.
We like to roll macaroni and cheese.
With pasta shells that hold on to that creamy Velveeta.
This tastes creamier than our old macaroni and cheese. I hope you learned your lesson.
New Velveeta Shells and Cheese Dinners taste creamier than the rest because it's Velveeta.
Just have a seat, Mr. Monster. Initials C. Ah, you'd like to go to London, terrific, Paris, Mexico, China, Italy, Transylvania. Why, you're going around the world.
Yes, it's the new Sesame Street Live stage show featuring all your favorite characters, bringing the whole world home to you.
Cash a charge.
Cookie!
You changed, sir.
Your friends at Channel 5 present Sesame Street Live November 7 through 11 to benefit Vanderbilt Children's Hospital.
Time now 16 minutes past the hour.
Beyond the personalities of any election, there are also philosophies. Not the sort of thing you can expect to hear much talk about right now among the candidates and the issues. But in the coming years, that may be the thing the 1984 election year is best remembered for, a shift in ideology that could affect your politics, our lives for years to come. Maybe. So on this election day, let's go in search of some perspective. And to provide it in Washington, Daniel Burston, Librarian of Congress. Welcome, Mr. Burston. And here in New York, historian James McGregor Burns, Professor of Political Science at Williams College, and William Leuchtenberg, Professor of History and Political Science at the University of North Carolina. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to all of you. Mr. Burns, want to find out if you think there's going to be a classic realignment in the pattern of 1932. But before we do that, let's put this in some kind of historical perspective. As we take a poll of all three, anxious to get your views and whether you believe on how historians will look back on this election 20 years from today.
If Mondale wins, and I think he still has a chance to win, I think historians will look back on this election as very much like 48, and it will show that a man who can seize the leadership issue, as I think Mondale has in the last 2 or 3 weeks, who's identified himself much more clearly, can pull an election out. If Reagan wins, I think it will be very important historically because it will prove that Ronald Reagan has put a decisively conservative stamp on the Republican Party for a long time to come.
We'll come back to that. Mr. Leuchtenberg.
I think that both historians and political scientists are likely to look askance at the notion that this is a realigning election, that they will see this as an indication more of the personality of Reagan, and although they will see that there are shifts in a rightward direction, they'll be more skeptical of the contention that this is either a new Republican era or that we're in a period of fundamental conservative shift.
We'll come back to the realignment in a moment. Mr. Burston, if you were writing about it 20 years from today.
Well, I would rather emphasize the long term, if I might, Bill, and remind us all that it's been nearly 200 years that we've been engaged in this peaceful process, and that some of my friends from abroad remind us that nobody's packing his bags tonight. And also, as a theologically minded historian once said, and this may allay some of the hysteria in both parties, a sign that divine providence watches over the United States is the presidents we have survived.
The really big elections were in 1828, Andrew Jackson, Lincoln; in 1860, 1896, William McKinley; 32, of course, Franklin Roosevelt. And we speak of those in terms of really realigning and presenting an imprimatur that will be lasting in this country. Do you agree that this is a realignment?
I think there's been half a realignment in this country. I think, again, that Reagan has made the Republican Party into the definitely conservative party. The big question now is whether the Democrats complete that realigning process, whether Mondale has managed to make the Democratic Party seem to be a decisive choice. I think he's been doing that in the last few weeks. Whether this has come home is not clear.
Mm-hmm. And you accept the realignment?
No, I don't think that there is a realignment going on. There's only been one realignment in this century. And if you want to see what a realignment looks like, Look at election night in November 1936. FDR wins with over 60% of the vote. He takes all but 2 of the states, Maine and Vermont. And the most important thing, the Democrats sweep both houses of Congress to such an extent that there isn't room for the Democrats on their side of the aisle, and they've got to sit on the Republican side of the aisle. They take over 300 seats. The Republicans are left with 89. That's not going to happen today. And if it doesn't happen, if you simply have Reagan taking lots of states, not reaching that kind of figure in the popular vote, but most important, if the Republicans fail to carry the House by a substantial margin, and the expectation is they're not going to carry the House at all, then I don't think we have anything approximating the kind of realignment that there was in 1936.
If you gentlemen would listen to this question and think of an answer as we ask Mr. Boorstin, what is historically different about Campaign 84?
Well, I think in the long term, there will be 2 technologies that have affected the alignment, the focus of voters and the way they view this election. First, the technology of television, from which the citizens have been getting most of their news since the 1960s, which has created what I would call the politics of personality. And second, another technology, an institutional technology, the opinion polls, which I think have had more influence this time than perhaps ever before, which creates what I would call the politics of clairvoyance. And some of the candidates, I think, have by a kind of contagion, instead of talking about the great issues, have tried to predict what the other candidate would do if he or she were elected. And this is I think, I'm not sure this is entirely fortunate.
More negative benefits, more negative results than positive benefits.
Well, yes, I think it's had the effect of shifting focus away from issues and toward specifics, the tiny and often the petty, or the potentially scandalous specifics. And I think the great debates had that effect too. I would say that the debates had the effect of debasing the election, the issues, by directing attention away from the grand issues and toward the petty questions, which I'm sorry to say the members of the press and the media were responsible for posing.
Gentlemen, would you agree?
I think we do have a kind of a king of the rock politics in this country. Every man and woman for himself or herself in this country, and I think that's very unfortunate. We're coming to the end of a very difficult and terribly long election, and one result of this kind of emphasis on personality is, oddly enough, we don't get a great turnout in the election. One of the most interesting aspects of this election will be the voting turnout. It's expected to go up. It's very low at the moment. It will never go up as far as some of the European democracies are able to boast of. So that I think one thing Americans should do at the end of this election is to sit back and ask whether there's something fundamentally wrong with our whole election process, including the role of the media.
Few seconds.
Yes, I think one of the things that television has contributed to is a process of de-alignment. That is to say that maybe 30% of the electorate does not identify with either party, and that creates an enormous volatility in the electorate that we're likely to see right on to the end of this century.
Maybe the most important thing to come out of Campaign 84 and this election day. Mr. Boorstin, Burns, and Mr. Lechtenberg, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
We continue in a moment.
The time now, 24 past the hour, and in our next half hour, what the Supreme Court's Raider ruling means to the rest of the NFL.
Hey, we're cooking at the Kellys, cooking good things at the Kellys, like a piping pot of chili that's so good, good, good.
Ah, the wee people at Kelly sure make a good pot of chili. They start with lean, government-inspected meats, carefully selected Idaho red beans, and just the right amount of seasoning. Just heat and serve. The wee people did the work for you.
Hey, we're cooking at the Kellys, cooking good things at the Kellys, a world of meaty things that taste so good, good, good.
Campaign 84, the general election. Make your choice Eyewitness News for our most extensive election coverage ever. With Chris Clark, the city's most experienced election anchor. Analyst John J. Hooker, longtime Democratic activist. And Tom Beasley, former chairman of the Tennessee Republican Party. Plus, we'll have live reports from 6 key locations throughout Tennessee. Join us for Campaign 84, the general election, Tuesday night, November 6th, beginning at 6:30. With 30 years' experience, we know how to cover an election. Channel 5. This is an Eyewitness News update.
Good morning, I'm John Megley. In the news at 6:25, the weather forecast sounds like a winner on this election day. We're expecting a sunny and cool day to go to the polls. The high will be about 58. There's another frost warning for tonight. It'll be clear and cool with frost likely. The low will be near 35. And tomorrow will be sunny and a bit warmer. The high will be around 65. Right now in Nashville, it's 36 degrees and clear. The relative humidity is 89%. The wind is from the northwest at 8 miles an hour, and the barometer is 30.26 and rising. Metro Police say they don't have any traffic problems to pass along right now. We'll update that situation for you at 7:25. Polls in our viewing area will open in about half an hour. In Tennessee, election officials are predicting record turnouts because of keen interest among voters in the presidential election. Les Heinz has been following both campaigns at work to try to get out the vote. Here's his report.
Mondale Ferraro, we're going to win.
I'm a volunteer for the Reagan-Bush 84 campaign.
The goal of both the Reagan and Mondale campaigns in Tennessee can be boiled down to just 4 words: get out the vote.
The campaign has really moved in the last 3 weeks, and it's been close all along. It looks like, we really can win it in Tennessee.
Well, I think we're seeing all across the South a shift to the Republican Party and to a more conservative way of voting. And I think that we'll see perhaps a realignment in Tennessee as well.
And then after we've done the senior citizen centers, we're going to try and arrange rides for the Public Housing Authority.
With Mondale trailing Reagan in virtually every opinion poll, Democrats are hoping a record voter turnout in Tennessee will prove those polls wrong.
And we just wanted to call to see if we can count on your support for the president tomorrow.
But the Reagan campaign is also hoping for a high voter turnout in Tennessee because they believe what the opinion polls are saying. So much so that some Republicans say Reagan will win the state by 400,000 votes.
I think Ronald Reagan will do very well. I think he'll carry the state by a large percentage.
Think it'll be 400,000 votes?
I think it'll probably be close to that.
Well, I think they must be doing that for some reason other than accurately predicting what's going to happen in Tennessee, and I would say probably their motivation is to discourage voters who are for Mondale and Ferraro, but I just don't think that's going to work.
Les Heinz, Channel 5, Eyewitness News.
Just before the polls open, many people think voters have made up their minds if they're deciding on a congressman in the 6th Congressional District, but neither candidate was taking any chances yesterday. Both Republican Joe Simpkins and Democrat Bart Gordon spent the day talking to voters. Gordon concentrated on Rutherford County, while Simpkins pressed the flesh in Wilson and Williamson
counties. If the weather holds up, that it will be a very good turnout.
What does that mean for you?
I think the bigger the turnout, the better off that I'll be, and so I look forward to a big turnout.
Watching the differences, me rising in the polls and Bart coming down, that undecided vote, which historically doesn't go to the person that it originally came from, which was Bart, it looks very, very good for me.
Simpkins is banking on last-minute radio commercials to sway undecided voters. Those commercials list 6 Democratic newspapers that refuse to endorse Gordon. The ads hint the reason could be questions surrounding Gordon's paternity suit. Just before the election, both Albert Gore Jr. and Victor Ashe are confident they'll win the race for U.S. Senator from Tennessee. Gore spent his last day campaigning for the Senate in his congressional district, while Ashe flew across the state for a series of news conferences. Later today, they'll know if their political plans worked.
Let's go to our floor correspondent at the Ford Dealers Election Countdown Sales Event.
David, it's unbelievable. The new Ford cars and trucks are going with fantastic savings. The front runners are the fuel-efficient Tempo and Escort. They promise front-wheel drive traction plus great handling. There's also big savings on top Ranger pickups. The Ford Dealers Election Countdown Sales Event is definitely a winner. It's too bad, David, you couldn't be here because I just got a great deal on a new Escort.
See your Ford dealer today.
Back to you, David.
Sesame Street Live will begin its 5-day run at the Municipal Auditorium tomorrow. Cookie Monster will be among the characters who will give out hugs and smiles. Tomorrow is Channel 5 Family Night. Tickets are only $5, and all proceeds will be donated to Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. Yesterday, the Tennessee School for the Blind got a sneak preview in the form of that visit from Cookie Monster. Our next news update will be at 7:25, and at 8, Nancy Mathis and Ron Kaiser will join me for Eyewitness Morning News. Hope you'll join us.
This has been an Eyewitness News Update.
November 6th is the date. Tuesday is the day. Big election day, of course.
Vote, vote, vote.
You know, Phyllis, they say that people vote the pocketbook issues primarily. Who's going to help the economy more? We have some surprising statistics about which party is better for Wall Street from our economics reporter, Robert Krulwich. He'll be coming up in this half hour.
Bill, also in this half hour, a setback for the NFL. The Supreme Court refused to hear the league's complaint against the Los Angeles Raiders for moving out of Oakland. Does that mean any team can just up and leave? Does the league have no control anymore? We'll ask the owner of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Raiders lawyer. But first, here's a look at the most outrageous politicians you'll ever meet coming up also in this half hour. One's a dog, if you can believe this, and one's a robot, and they're all running today for president.
Really?
But first the news, something a little more serious, if you will.
Well, millions of little levers are going to be clicking today as the Americans select a president, vice president, and members of Congress. 33 Senate seats are being contested. So are all the 435 seats in the House, not to mention 13 governorships and thousands of other jobs in state legislatures and justices of the peace, sheriffs, even dog catchers. About 100 million voters are expected to go to the polls in a vote that could set a record. It was California, here I come for President Reagan. He wound up his campaign in his home state with stops in San Diego and Los Angeles before heading for his Santa Barbara ranch. He called this the most important race in 50 years and said he won't declare victory till he reads the scoreboard. The president votes in Solvang, California. Walter Mondale is back in North Oaks, Minnesota, and when he arrived in Minnesota last night, he told his backers in St. Paul, "I've given this campaign everything I've got." He invoked the name of his mentor, Hubert Humphrey, and he said no matter what happens, this election will make history. George Bush's campaign travels ended with a welcome home rally in Houston. The vice president seemed to have little doubt about the outcome.
We are #1 again, and we're going to keep it #1 for the next 4 years at least.
This morning, Bush and his wife Barbara vote in their adopted hometown. Aides say that he may play golf before settling down to watch the returns. Last stop for Geraldine Ferraro was an emotional visit to her alma mater, Marymount College. Win or lose, she says it was an historic journey.
Even if this moment were frozen in time, this campaign would still make a difference. My candidacy has said to women, the doors of opportunity are opening. And for me, life can never be the same because I've been touched by the support and love and goodwill of men and women all over America.
Ms. Ferraro left to go home to Queens. She was serenaded by the staff of the college with a rendition of Over There. Here are some of the other races we'll be following. With 33 Senate seats on the line, Democrats have a good chance to trim the Republicans' 10-seat advantage, but not cancel it. It's neck and neck in 2 states. North Carolina's face-off between Senator Jesse Helms and Governor Jim Hunt has been the most expensive Senate battle ever, and perhaps the nastiest. And Illinois' Senator Charles Percy is in a tight race with Representative Paul Simon. Out of the 435 seats in the House of Representatives, all up for grabs today, 266 are now held by Democrats, 167 by Republicans, 2 are vacant. Republicans are considered unlikely to win outright control, but a gain of more than 25 seats could make it easy for Ronald Reagan to get bills passed if he is reelected. 13 states elect governors today, and 6 of them, incumbents, are running for re-election. Both North Carolina and West Virginia are seeing their governors leave the State House to run for the Senate. CBS News will provide complete election coverage and a look at what it all means starting tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. In other news today, the hijacking of a Saudi Arabian jet came to a dramatic end this morning in Iran. Passengers aboard the plane are telling reporters they overpowered the 2 hijackers with an axe. Earlier, the Iranian news agency said Iranian security forces freed the 130 passengers and crew. The plane was en route from London to Riyadh when the hijackers, believed to be Yemeni, took over the plane. In this country, a strike against General Dynamics turned violent on its first day. At least 7 strikers were arrested outside the company's jet fighter plant in Texas in a bottle-throwing, tear gas confrontation with police. Strikers had tried to stop other workers from entering the factory, where 6,400 General Dynamics employees walked out yesterday. Business is business on this election day. First time, I guess, that Wall Street has stayed open. The stock market, you can trade.
The New York Stock Exchange is 192 years old. This is the first time it'll be open on Election Day, and it's expected to be the usual semi-holiday pattern, slow turnover, perhaps a slight upward bias to the market. It was a pretty big day yesterday. The Dow Industrial Average is at 1229 this morning, up 12.5 points in yesterday's trading. The Federal Reserve took some market participants by surprise, injecting funds into the system, pushing interest rates lower. The yield on new 13-week Treasury bills fell to 8.82%, and that is more than half a point below the average yield at last week's auction. It's the lowest since January. Analysts say the Fed has loosened up in response to a slower economy. Gold is down $1.65 an ounce in London this morning at $345.95. Silver is down 8 cents at $7.60. The dollar is mixed overseas this morning. The mergers and acquisitions field has been quiet for a while, but the lawyers and investment bankers are busy now. Equitable Life is paying $432 million for Donaldson, Lufkin & Jenrette, the 12th largest securities firm. That's the latest in a string of financial services mergers. In publishing, Gulf and Western, which already owns Simon & Schuster, has bid $70 a share for Prentice Hall, the textbook publisher. And Dow Jones and 4 individuals have offered $112 million for the company that owns the Des Moines Register and some broadcasting properties. Bill?
Ken, our economics reporter, Robert Krulwich, has been elected to talk about the politics of the stock market on this November 6th. He will join us coming up in a moment.
The time now, 36 past the hour. And these are the times when the polls close in some more states around the country. This portion of the CBS Morning News is sponsored by the investment firm of Smith Barney. They make money the old-fashioned way. They earn it.
John Houseman for the investment firm of Smith Barney.
Is bigger better? Smith Barney has always believed in substance over size, a nimble mind, a watchful eye, and the ability to move swiftly. In a changing environment, it's a matter of brains, not brawn. Smith Barney, they make money the old-fashioned way. They earn it.
When you want to eat well, but eat light, there are classic light dinners. Complete meals to satisfy the most discriminating taste, with classic combinations like beef pepper steak, with rice and green beans in a light butter sauce, yet beyond their classic great taste. Classic light dinners are less than 300 calories. Classic light dinners from Armour, the classic way to eat light.
Bravo! Can you find the Simmons Beauty Rest mattress in this picture? Maybe this will help. It's clear that among all these premium mattresses, only Beauty Rest is totally different on the inside. Only Beauty Rest coils are wrapped independently so they can move separately and conform to every curve of your body to make firm feel comfortable. The Beauty Rest difference, you can see it, and oh, can your back feel it.
There's just no rest like a Beauty Rest by Simmons.
You can't be calculating without a calculating mind.
Now what? I don't know, but they're doing it fast.
Canon's 350 makes 30 copies a minute.
They're doing it in color. The connivers.
Canon's 350 can zoom to precise image sizes and remember them.
They got it in sets already. Already? They're finished. If they're finished, we're finished.
Canon's NP350, the copier with the calculating mind. For more information, call toll-free 1-800-OK-CANON.
The time now, 39 past the hour.
States, and I feel it's a responsibility. And I want to contribute to what I think is best.
It's an obligation of citizenship.
You bet.
Excellent reasons, both of them. Well, time for another check on Election Day weather. Here, Steve, could Is this perfect weather for voting?
I tell you, one reason to go in and cast a vote aside from all your personal reasons is you're not going to be running from anything foul. We just don't have a lot of severe weather going on across the country. I'll show you what's happening region by region now. We'll give you an update on what to expect not only in the morning but in the afternoon. You can see in the northeast we still have clouds lingering and some snowflakes on this map, but really only snow flurries up in northern Pennsylvania and portions of New York State. But the noticeable difference is how cool it is outside. By mid-afternoon, only 50 degrees in New York City and about 37 degrees up in Burlington. The same kind of conditions through New England. If there's any region with most of the rain showers, it should be along the coast. There's a little storm out at sea, but not enough to really hold you back and keep you from doing anything you want. This is almost picture perfect. The Midwest and the Upper Plains and the Central as well. You'll find 62 degrees in Goodland, Kansas, about 49 degrees up in Bismarck. But from Bismarck to Chicago to Cleveland, Detroit, all will have almost perfect conditions. The South, they had a lot of rain last week. Not the case today at all. Most of Texas and Oklahoma, all the way across to Florida, is still in good shape and sunny skies from northern Florida all the way down. Now we'll cover the West just to give you a general picture. 75 degrees in Las Vegas, 86 in Phoenix. The Southern Plateau is just fine now. The only trouble spot, the mountains of the Sierra Nevadas and the Cascades and the Western Rockies. Snow showers, maybe 3 to 6 inches of snow by the time this afternoon is through. That is a quick wrap-up of today's weather. Here's a look at some temperatures and forecasts for some other locations.
The Election Day forecast sounds like a winner. For Nashville, it'll be sunny and cool with the high about 58 degrees. Tonight will be clear and cold with frost likely, the low near 35. And tomorrow fair and not as cool, the high around 65.
And I'll have much more on what to expect for Election Day in the next hour. Bill?
And on Wall Street, Steve, it's never been impolitic to make money, which is one reason why for the first time in this century, as Ken said, the stock market will be open for business on Election Day. And now to take stock of some other matters of business and Election Day politics, our Robert Krulwich. Hello, Robert.
Hello, Bill. It is safe to say that investors expect a Ronald Reagan victory today, but if midday word gets out that there is a stronger than expected move to Walter Mondale, for the first time today, investors can react immediately. My guess is they're going to sell. This is a very old pattern. Lots of investors believe they can make more money when a Republican is president. So if Democrats tend to win, they tend to sell. If Republicans win, usually up goes the Dow. I learned that in a study by Norm Fosback of the Institute for Econometric Research in Fort Lauderdale. If you look back over this century, one day after the election, when a market has opened, once the market's open, almost every time a Republican won, in 9 out of 11 cases, the Dow went up for an average gain of what today would be 11 points. But when a Democrat won, our investor, that's the guy on the left looking none too happy, 6 out of 10 times the Dow went down for an average loss of 10 points. So investors have made money on Republican victories at least for one day after the election. Now let's see if Republicans keep making money. Let's take a look at the first week after the election, going back to the study now. 1 week after Election Day, if a Republican won, the Dow averaged up to 14 to 15 points. However, if the Democrats won, the Dow was still down by 10 points. All right, how about a month after? Check out the happy investor over there. 1 month after a Republican victory on average, not only is the Dow up, it's up 28 points. But if a Democrat has won after a month, the Dow is down for an average loss of 27. So it seems that history shows us that investors do make more money when Republicans win, measured by the Dow. But not so fast. Let us ask the ultimate question. What happens over the whole 4-year term? To answer that one, the study created 2 hypothetical investors. One of them buys stock only when there's a Democrat in the White House. The day a Democrat is inaugurated, this particular investor buys $100 of stock in every stock of the New York Stock Exchange. When the Republican wins, he sells everything. He's a 100% Democrat. The other fellow, of course, he does the opposite. He buys only when Republicans are president. Now, this time, Mr. Fosback tracked 100 years, from 1881 to 1980. Democrats won almost half those elections, Republicans the other half. Now, which party made more for investors? The authors measured stock prices and dividends. Here you go. Here is what they found. Over 100 years, the annual rate of return during Republican administrations was 6.2%. That's how fast the money grew. For Democrats now, 13.2%. So investors have done more than twice as well under Democrats as they did under Republicans over the whole century, which is a pretty startling result when you consider the cliche that Republicans are better for Wall Street. However, lest anybody think this is some sort of sneaky advertisement I'm working into the show for the Democrats on Election Day, as a special service now to Republican viewers, there is a way, as the spies say, to neutralize this study. All you got to do is say, we don't have a Great Depression every 4 years. So to make this study more normal, let's take 2 elections out of the equation. Republican Herbert Hoover, the fellow on the left, was president when the stock market crashed. Terrible thing for Republicans. If you pull Hoover out and Frank Roosevelt's first term out, when the recovery started, then the 2 parties come out about even when it comes to making money. Now, I don't know if it's cricket to cancel the Great Depression, but if you don't, then the Democrats end up making more money for investors in this century. And my statistics come from the Institute for Econometrics in Fort Lauderdale.
And they're all down there today for the first time in the century with the stock market open.
Everybody.
Why?
Why? Because they believe that there are more and more international traders, people around the world. If you're a sheik in Riyadh this morning and you want to buy AT&T, you call up New York. You don't want to hear that there's some domestic election interfering, because if you hear that, you'll go trade your stocks in London. So to keep the world trading business, New York Stock Exchange is open today.
They just want to get a head start on everybody. Yeah, Robert Krulwich, thank you. We'll be back in a minute.
Time now 14 minutes before the hour, and these are the times when the polls close in some more states around the country. This portion of the CBS Morning News is sponsored by Citrus Hill Orange Juice, 100% pure and naturally sweet.
Grandpa Luke!
Up here, honey.
My friends love your orange juice.
Well, sure. It's naturally sweet. You see, I let my oranges soak up a full year of sunshine till those oranges of mine fairly burst to overflowing with naturally sweet, delicious Citrus Hill orange juice. You like that naturally sweet taste?
Yeah!
Citrus Hill Orange Juice. There's a year of sunshine in every sip.
The special richness of Folgers crystals. Now, discover that same richness in new decaffeinated Folgers crystals. The only decaffeinated with Folgers' rich aroma. And those dark, sparkling crystals that burst into Folgers' deep, rich flavor.
That is rich.
Discover new decaffeinated Folgers crystals.
Over the years, a lot of small businesses have developed their own systems of communicating.
Yes, sir. Eric, talk to
But now there's a better way. Meet the Merlin system from AT&T. Merlin's a telephone, an intercom, a conference caller, and has dozens of features you can select.
Anderson.
So
Yes, sir.
Merlin can grow as your small business grows. Call about Merlin. AT&T Information Systems, when you've got to be right.
I run a mile a day. I watch every calorie. And I like Stouffer's Lean Cuisine because it's less than 300 calories.
I watch lots of TV. I don't care about calories. And I eat lean cuisine because it tastes good.
Lean Cuisine gives me extra incentive when I'm watching my weight
And it tastes good.
because I never feel bored or deprived.
And it tastes good.
I was just about to get to that.
Oh, Lean Cuisine entrees from Stouffer's. It's not just the calories that count, it's the taste.
To prevent him from getting in, he launches himself right here.
This was the Los Angeles Raiders in action recently against the Minnesota Vikings. But the Raiders have been involved in another action, a legal action. Not so much a game of football as a game of geography. At issue, whether the Raiders had the legal right to move from Oakland to Los Angeles 2 years ago without NFL approval. The Football League said no. But the Supreme Court yesterday let stand a lower court ruling that controls franchises' moves and says that it violates federal antitrust laws, and we want to get that straight. That was the decision. Now let's huddle with representatives of both sides in this dispute. And with us now, thank goodness in Honolulu, we were having a little technical difficulty, is Joseph Joseph Alioto, former San Francisco mayor. He represented the Raiders owner, Al Davis, in the case. And in our studios at station WTVT in Tampa, Florida, is Hugh Culverhouse, owner and president of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Hugh, let's start with you. A lot of the owners are up in arms over this final, it seems like a final blow from the Supreme Court. What are your feelings on it?
Well, I think if you're speaking of the freedom to change franchises in different locations, I think that's mixed blessings. Leagues that move locations have never made many friends. In fact, the NFL, until this decision, had a very stable policy on locations. And I think that's been a very important factor in why we've been successful. It just doesn't make good business sense to run out on a community and fans as the Raiders did from one high revenue base to another high revenue base. More importantly, and more worrisome to me, is where does the next freedom come? Does this mean that some owners will take the decision as a license that they can repudiate their league contracts and selectively take the ones that they want to enforce, those they want to abide by, just for their selfish interests? To me, that's much more important.
Thank you, Mr. Culverhouse. Mr. Alioto, would you like to respond to that?
I think my very learned and good friend Hugh is just overstating the case by miles. Since 1966, the NFL's own lawyers have told them that this rule violates the antitrust laws and they could do it the right way. Al Davis told them just put in standards for relocation and we aren't going to have any difficulty. Now, the notion that anybody's going to violate any other rules, of course, is just a scare tactic which Pete Rozelle has successfully managed to flood the country with this kind of business. But they were told it was illegal. They persisted anyway because they liked the arbitrary use of monopoly power. What's happened now is, very, very frankly, is we're going to have a better situation everywhere, and the NFL can adopt a legitimate legal rule on relocations based on factors that are objective and not simply on subjective.
But if the teams can move anywhere they want, won't they all be clustered in big cities where there's more money?
Nobody has ever said that the teams can move any place they want, and furthermore, competition is going to determine that thing. There's no reason why the market shouldn't determine that factor. And the NFL can make a rule, which in effect said you can only move under certain conditions, and that rule would be legal. If you just simply take the personal whim, the prejudice, the caprice, the hatred out of voting on franchise relocations, there won't be any problem. If the NFL hadn't destroyed our negotiations in Oakland, we might have still been there.
Let's let Mr. Culverhouse say something now. Do you think that the owners dislike Al Davis? Is this why they're so up in arms? Because Irsay from Baltimore moved to Indianapolis, the Jets and the Giants moved. What is your comment on that?
No, I don't think it's a matter of personalities at all. They tried to make it that in the lower trial court before a jury in Los Angeles, and they were successful. But this isn't a personality matter. When I came into the league, I signed a contract with Al Davis and with the other 27 owners, and we agreed that we would abide by the Constitution and the bylaws of the NFL. Now, I didn't say if the court said it was legal. I said I would abide by them, and I do. And I look upon myself as a franchise owner as merely the trustee for the town and the community of Tampa. The franchise was awarded to Tampa, not to Hugh Culverhouse. Hugh Culverhouse was selected some 8 months later to be the franchise holder.
How will you fight this? How will the owners, the NFL, fight this Supreme Court decision, or can you?
Well, we're not sure that the Supreme Court has finally ruled. As of yesterday, they ruled that they would not accept the case at this time. It was an interim decision. There are two parts to the case. The second part is still pending in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. That's the amount of damages. When that's decided, we will appeal again to the Supreme Court, and hopefully they will rule upon it. If they have never ruled upon the applicability of antitrust laws to pro sports, we think this is a perfect case for them to do so.
Let me ask Mr. Alioto one more question before we have to go. It just seems like the fans are the losers in this whole deal. They had supported the Oakland Raiders for 20 years to sell out crowds. Do you feel that way?
No, that just really isn't true, Phyllis.
The fact of the matter is, not a Los Angeles jury, but a judge in Salinas found that Pete Rozelle deliberately destroyed the negotiations of the Raiders in Oakland at the point when they were going to make a deal with the mayor. They told those Oakland councilmen and politicians, you're dealing with a hostage and a prisoner, so you don't have to worry about him. You don't have to give him a good stadium. And that's what caused this move. They destroyed our negotiations in Oakland, and that's what's found by a judge in Salinas in the eminent domain case, as well as by that jury in Los Angeles and the judge in Los Angeles and the Court of Appeal. And that is a final decision on the fact.
Joe, that just isn't the case. I hate to interrupt you, but you're making a false statement there.
Gentlemen,
that simply isn't true. You weren't at that trial, and you didn't
I hate to interrupt both of you. You were both kind to come on this morning because this is an important issue to many people in the NFL, the owners, the fans, the coaches, the administration. Thank you very much both for being with us, and we'll be right back after this.
Thanks.
Stay with us.
It's 5 minutes before the hour, and in our next hour, Richard Leakey on his remarkable fossil discovery. Patty Duke soon to star as Madam President. And Walter Cronkite looks at today's election.
It's a Radio Shack Merry Christmas.
The TRS-80 Color Computer 2 is a great family gift. On sale only $99.95 with these instant loading program packs. It's a game arcade, a home manager, an educational center, and you can learn to program. It's expandable with a typewriter quality keyboard.
Now this is a family gift I can really afford. The sale price TRS-80 Color Computer 2, $99.95, only at Radio Shack.
I almost never lose a case, but when I try to manage my money, I almost never win.
A lot of people who are good at making money are not that good at managing it. So at Money, M-O-N-Y, we help you plan the tax-sheltered investments, savings, and insurance programs you need for now and later on.
I can keep you out of traffic, but the way I manage money, I'm always in a jam.
Money helps you manage money, so your money will do as well as you do.
Get a feel for cotton. It's what you like in denim jeans because it's always so comfortable and soft to your touch and keeps you looking good. Once you get a feel for cotton, you won't feel like anything else. Experience the true performance of cotton with Lee Dress Blues. They're all cotton jeans that keep their fit and stay darker longer.
I love this long grain and wild rice dish.
It's right.
A secret family recipe. Don't you dare tell him it's rice-a-roni.
Come on, Ann.
Okay, it's rice-a-roni, long grain and wild rice. The secret's in the flavor packet. Rare herbs, seasonings, and lots of delicious wild rice I saute and simmer to bring out the flavor.
Wait, you said it was a secret family recipe.
But I didn't say whose family.
Rice-a-roni, the San Francisco treat.
The time now, 3 minutes before the hour.
The polls haven't been open very long, have they? There's Walter Mondale swearing in at his polling place, it appears, in North Oaks, Minnesota. This is a live picture of Walter Mondale getting ready to vote. There's Eleanor and Joan Mondale and the sons. Everybody is there. I think they have to check his identity and make sure that he's registered in the county. You know, he's been out of town so long, maybe he's not registered there. But they will clear things, and we will see this candidate for the President of the United States office voting in just a moment. And of course, coming up in the next hour, we're going to be talking first with Walter Cronkite and a number of other things. What do you have?
We have all kinds of things coming up. It's a surprise, so they'll have to stay with us to see.
I'll be watching
all
them.
Right,
I'll
good.
stick around. We'll be back. Geraldine Ferraro.
The campaign. The countdown. The candidates. The choice. You've always relied on CBS News when it counts. Tonight it counts. Live coverage begins with the CBS Evening News at 6:30 p.m. Eastern.
This is CBS.
This year, your Dodge dealer's got a few surprises for you. We're making this the best year yet with Kickoff 85. Wheeling and dealing on everything from revolutionary caravans to the new Aries K. And now domestic trucks are back with the only 550 truck protection plan in America.
Get yours now at Regent Dodge, Madison.
Waterbed Wednesday. You gotta see it to believe it. Waterbed Wednesday at Aqua Sleep World. Prices slashed at waterbed furniture, the likes of which your eyes have never beheld. Waterbed Wednesday. A finely finished solid wood king-size waterbed with mattress, liner, and heater, complete for $197. Yes. At Aqua Sleep World. Yes. And with any bed, an underbed dresser for $88. Yes. Slash prices on sheets and accessories. Yes. This Wednesday only at Aqua Sleep World.
My people are my company's greatest assets. Blue Cross and Blue Shield has always been my choice for protecting them. That's why I'm looking into the Care Choice program. Care Choice delivers quality health care and controls costs and gives my people a wide choice of physicians and treatment locations. Care Choice. It makes good sense. And I expect that from the folks at Blue Cross and Blue Shield.
With 30 years of election coverage, this is Channel 5.
Everybody's voting. You'll probably want to do it too today. This is Washington, D.C., as voters went to the polls very, very early. It's all over but the voting, really. Millions of Americans are trooping into the polls all over the place, spending the better part of this day. With us, talking about the election, Walter Cronkite is going to come in to maybe answer some of the criticisms leveled by the historians who said that television has debased the debates, has created a contest of personalities instead of issues.
And he'll do it as only Walter Cronkite
As only
can
Walter
do.
can do.
And later on, we'll have an election cake, if you can believe that, so you can have your cake and eat it too. And in our final half hour, a complete change of subject, as we're joined by one of the world's best-known anthropologists, Richard Leakey, to talk about his major new discoveries on the origins of man. Bill?
One of my favorite subjects.
Yeah.
But by day's end, we should know the new occupants of state houses, courthouses, houses of Congress. But it's the race for the White House that has attracted the most attention, and our coverage of the end of the campaign begins with Peter Van Sant covering Walter Mondale.
22 months have passed since Walter Mondale began his quest for the presidency. Last night he came home to where his political life began, Minnesota. He talked of the struggle and remembered his mentor, Hubert Humphrey.
Through all the debates, through all the campaigns and speeches, through all the joys and heartaches, I could hear you, and I could also hear Hubert pushing me on.
Earlier in the evening, Mondale was cheered like a conquering hero in Mason City, Iowa, the town where Mondale held his first presidential campaign speech. He was greeted with cheers and poetry.
There once was a fellow named Walter. The pollsters all said he would falter. When the voting is done and they find he has won, their predictions they'll all have to alter.
Mondale returned the warmth with 11th hour political passion.
I know you, I believe in farming, and what's happening in rural America is a disgrace and a threat to the future of this country, and I'm going to stop it as President of the United States.
Mondale told the crowd they could make political history today by helping him achieve the biggest upset ever in presidential elections. Peter Van Sant, CBS News, St. Paul, Minnesota.
President Reagan ended his final campaign in San Diego just as he did 4 years ago. Among these, his most ardent supporters, he was nostalgic about the thousands who had come out to cheer him on the campaign trail.
I wanted many times to be able to stop and say, thank you for how easy you're making it for an old campaigner.
Mr. Reagan has been campaigning hard for Republican congressional candidates and just as hard against the Democratic Speaker of the House, a figure that Republican crowds love to hate.
This is the most important election in this nation in 50 years. And if we're to win it, we must win more than the presidency. We need a Congress that will tell Tip O'Neill that his days of obstructing the progressive legislation...
They never let him finish. As he left the rally, Mr. Reagan was jubilant. Today, the Reagans will vote near their Santa Barbara ranch and then return to Los Angeles to watch the election returns. After dinner with friends, the president will attend a rally tonight to deliver what he is sure will be a victory speech. John Ferrugia, CBS News with the Reagan campaign in Los Angeles.
President Reagan got his first victory votes minutes after midnight today. 30 residents in the small New Hampshire hamlet of Dixville Notch cast the first ballots, as they've been doing in national elections since 1960.
Another one for Reagan. Another one for Reagan. Another one for Reagan. Another one for Reagan.
The final tally showed President Reagan had swept Dixville Notch 29-1. However, the mountain resort village has been a bellwether of presidential elections in only 2 of the past 5 contests. 1/3 of the seats in the U.S. Senate are being contested as the Democrats try and chisel away at the 55-45 Republican majority. Among the closest races, North Carolina, Democratic Governor Jim Hunt is challenging Senator Jesse Helms. Illinois, where Representative Paul Simon is trying to oust Republican Senator Charles Percy. And in the House, the Democrats now have a 100-seat margin. Experts say that may shrink, but will not disappear. In other news, the California judge has reinstated all charges against Twilight Zone director John Landis and 4 others. Landis faces 5 charges of involuntary manslaughter for the helicopter crash on the set of the movie. Actor Vic Morrow and 2 child actors were killed. Several charges in the case were dismissed last April. In reinstating them, the judge said this is a case to be tried. Passengers aboard a Saudi Arabian jet reportedly used an axe to overpower 2 hijackers this morning. The plane was seized overnight on the way to Riyadh from London and forced to land in Tehran. Iranian forces arrested the hijackers, who were said to be Yemeni. Despite IRA bomb threats, Queen Elizabeth observed tradition and opened Parliament today. But security was tight. Armed police dressed as royal footmen were mixed in with other members of her entourage. Cars were checked, rooftops were covered with armed guards. The entire 1-mile parade route was lined with police. The Queen, wearing the state crown and ermine robe, read an outline of legislation for the coming session of Parliament. Can't have an election day without Walter Cronkite, and he will join us coming up.
The time now 6 minutes past the hour. And these are the times when the polls close in some more states around the nation.
Replace those worn out windows with Admiral replacement windows. See Spurlock and Carter today.
Look at that.
You only get ribeye like this at the Peddler. Best steaks you can get.
Hey, where'd the ribeye go?
Ah, the strip sirloin. It's my favorite.
But I want the ribeye.
Well then, how about lobster with it?
Wouldn't they be great together?
They've got filet that will melt in your mouth.
Like the ribeye?
Yeah, an incredible salad bar.
Now that's my favorite with anything.
Well, it's your choice at the Peddler.
It's Kastner-Knott's biggest sale of the year. Shop early for incredible savings. Stores open 8:30 a.m. tomorrow.
It's Kastner-Knott.
They've already done the hard part. All we have to do is vote.
The hour.
Well, it's a privilege, first of all. It's one of the greatest privilege for the citizens to vote, and it's good for the country.
Good for the country. Steve Baskerville is also good for our country because he's busily trying to come up with a forecast that will send everybody to the polls. How does it go?
I wish I had it this easy every day with the forecast, because it's a virtual landslide in terms of the fair weather across the country. I'll show you what I mean. There are a few trouble spots, but most of the clouds, as we take a look at what's going on, at least at this hour, are kind of scattered about the country. You're going to see some clouds over portions of Wyoming and Utah into Northern California. Those clouds are giving way to some showers and snow showers, especially up in the mountains, but really that's no big deal. It's not organized enough to be a big troublemaker. As you move into the center of the nation, you're going to find that it's almost in the gorgeous realm, because from northern Illinois up through the North Dakota, down through the Central Plains, and especially in the south, we don't have clouds that are going to have to be a big problem for the afternoon hours. So the radar sites reporting in, they're showing some basically good news. We still have leftovers from yesterday. I call them the bookends, because there's showers off the East Coast and the same kind of weather situation out west. The high temperatures for today, I'll move into that category. You're going to find it It's much colder than you'd like it to be, especially for the early afternoon. The 50s and 60s slumping farther down into the center of the country. The southern plateau, especially the Sun Belt, still has it warm. You have it made there in the 80s in southern Arizona and New Mexico. But look at what has happened to the deep south. Frost and freeze warnings, especially into Georgia and Alabama and Mississippi. Could be some moving into northern Florida, especially by the end of the week. But in general, the weather to watch today could be travelers advisories if you have to move around the mountain passes and gusty winds ahead of that. But still, nothing organized to give us a whole lot of severe weather, so we're looking good. That's a look at the weather. Here's a look at some temperatures and forecasts for some locations around the nation.
The Election Day forecast sounds like a winner. For Nashville, it'll be sunny and cool with the high about 58 degrees. Tonight will be clear and cold with frost likely, the low near 35. And tomorrow fair and not as cool, the high around 65.
And I'll have another Election Day recap of the weather the next half hour. Bill?
We could recap a few election days, I think, with this man, Walter Cronkite. No election day would be complete without a visit from you. We were just talking to three historians earlier in the broadcast who weren't very kind to television.
No, I thought they were a little rough with television.
They debate, television debases the debates. It's created races of personalities instead of issues. What are your views on that?
Well, I think there's some truth quite clearly to what they say, but I don't think the other side is presented to that. I think that in everything in life today, you can say that television has changed it. It's part of our technological revolution. Everything is speeded up in our lives. All communications are speeded up, and it's inevitable that television should make an impact and a change. Debasing the debates, there weren't any debates before. We haven't had real debates for a very long time. I think that that as a matter of fact, although I don't like the form of the debates, and I feel it's unfortunate that they aren't operated on a more regular basis and in more depth, they are bringing the two candidates face to face before us, and by television, for heaven's sakes, to the millions of people across the entire country. I don't see how you can call that a debasement. Debasement is in the form, and somebody could change that if they really want to work on it. It's not television's fault. I can't go with their argument.
In some of the big city campaigns, one way the machines were broken, the real patronage system, is that television was able to jump over the precinct captain and take that information right down to the people, so they weren't beholden any longer to be told how to vote. We've done that throughout the country.
Well, absolutely, and that's one of the things about the so-called projections that there is so much discussion about, whether we should project results. So what we're doing is giving the entire population the opportunity to share the information that only the political leaders used to have. They used to have their little black books. They've done that from time immemorial. They sat there in Ohio and said, well, we've got to come out of Cuyahoga County with 3-1 lead, or we can't carry down state, and we're losing Ohio. So they get on the telegraph originally, and then the telephone, and tell the West Coast, you better get out because we're going to lose Ohio. Only the political leaders had that information. Now the whole country has it. I don't see it. That's a disadvantage.
What about polls, however? Out on the West Coast, we all know the big controversy.
Polling?
Yes, the issue. I see ABC now is not going to project the winner until all the polls have closed.
Yeah. On the basis of exit polling?
Yes, exit polling. Not
well, I kind of go along with the restraint and the use of the exit poll for projecting a winner, but I don't think we ought to confuse the issues too much here with that aspect of it. The exit polls give us a tool we have never had before, and the networks ought to be thanked by the people of this country for the exit polls, which give us an indication of the nature of the mandate being given to the winning party. And that is terribly important. We've never had any way of doing that before. It's particularly important in an election like this one, where a very popular president is being reelected on a large part because of his personality. We haven't had the in-depth debates we should have, and in the absence of that, we can't know tomorrow morning what the people really voted for, assuming that Reagan wins this election. He's going to win it with maybe 25 to 30% of the electorate of this country actually voting for him. total vote, 55% they're predicting. He's going to get a little better than half of that. Well, it's considerably better, perhaps, maybe 30% of the electorate. Now, that's going to be interpreted as a mandate. The people say that this is what they want. But what do they want? What do they want? They want a popular president back in there, that's clear. But do they want his foreign policy? Do they want his tax policy? Do they want his social services policy? What part of it are they voting for? And we can tell that through exit polls if they're properly used. So I'm all for exit polls, but I am for a little restraint.
That's right. The question is when. We don't have to have it immediately to interfere with the process of voting.
Yeah, and I'm not sure it does interfere that much. There's no scientific or empirical evidence that it does interfere that much. But on the other hand, if there's a perception that it does, why do it? What's the urgency?
The look on your face is a perfect argument for that. 1968, you were at the convention. I was out on the street and as a young reporter, and I realized for the first time...
I was a young anchorman.
Young anchorman. I realized for the first time that the visual message that comes through this television screen almost doesn't need words. If the pictures are inflammatory or so powerful, Vietnam in the living room was another example, and the Reagan administration hasn't picked up on that, haven't they?
Oh, I think it's the most skillful public relations operation. That's not said in any derogatory sense. If you've got the medium out there, you better use it. That's the lesson of this campaign particularly. They have used it with consummate skill.
Positive images, the flag behind the president, almost not caring what the script is.
That's, of course, the unfortunate part, and that's where our historians a little while ago were I think, on target to a degree. The use of television, it's not television's fault. I mean, it all comes back, what's your fault? Television, our fault. It's not our fault. It's the way the thing is used by people. And the political leaders, in using it in this way, are indeed, I think, debasing the process of the election. I would like to see, I think the way around this, there's two ways around it. One is, there's no reason why we shouldn't legislate the necessity for debates on the old Oxford, Cambridge rules. I mean, the proposition put forward and the two men face-to-face have to marshal their arguments and present them in a cohesive manner, answering each other's arguments and rebuttal and so forth. If we could legislate 6 of those. I mean, after all, these people are asking for our votes. These people are asking us to make them the President of the United States. Can't we say, well, we'll do that on the basis that you get out and tell us what you stand for? I think we could do that. That would help shorten the campaign, too, which would help a lot. It would reduce the costs, which would help an awful lot. But it would also eliminate, to a great extent, this use of television, this misuse of television, perhaps, in presenting the candidates like a bar of soap. Also, the other thing we should do, I think, I'd like to see the television industry get together to do this, but it's so important if the television industry can't police itself on it, why, then maybe a government ought to step in. We ought to eliminate the spot announcements in the sense that no announcements under 60 seconds. Maybe limit them to a minimum of 2 minutes, or maybe 3 minutes even, but Severide and Moyers, Chancellor approved, you can say a lot in 2 minutes, and then insist that the candidate only appear. And if you had the candidates appearing in a minimally 2-minute announcements that they could purchase, we'd learn something. We'd find out something. They'd have to say something about policy rather than just the eloquence of their rhetoric.
A lot to think about. They just gave me a cut sign. Did you also give me a stretch there? No, I guess not. I was trying to squeeze it out. Thanks for being with us. Hope to see you again soon. We'll be back.
The time now, 17 minutes past the hour. And here's when the polls close in some more states around the country.
When he's finally fixed the muffler, when she's finally learned the game, when you've done a little something that makes you feel ashamed, that's when you should send the Tickler bouquet from Emma's Flowers. It's a fun bouquet of fresh flowers featuring its own special tickler, and it can help you say, thanks for the peace and quiet. Congrats on scoring big. Sorry about the bad break. Just call or stop by Emma's Flowers. After all, everyone could use a little tickle now and then.
And back to back, walk 10 paces and fire.
Back to back? That's the way they play those great country hits on Nashville 95 FM.
Okay, girls, get back to back with your partner. And everybody stand.
Back to back. Yeah, that's how they play the country hits on Nashville 95 FM.
Virgil, you realize that that's 5 back-to-back hits?
Yeah, kind of like the back-to-back country hits on Nashville 95 FM.
Nashville 95 FM, playing more back-to-back country hits than anybody else.
If you're eating light, you should know that for the same 180 calories, you could have this much beef, this much fish, this much chicken, or this much Hormel ham. Because this is new light and lean ham from Hormel, trimmed extra lean to be extra light, but it doesn't taste it because it's 100% real Hormel ham. New light and lean ham from Hormel. It's ham in a whole new light.
Accidents do happen, but I don't worry about them anymore because I bought this Regina steamer cleaner at Walmart with this exclusive shampoo cartridge. My Regina is lightweight, portable, and the low price, fantastic.
This Regina Steamer Carpet Cleaner is just $59.96 every day. That's the Walmart way, a savings tradition every day.
I did it myself and saved the Walmart way.
It's a better day when you save the Walmart way.
Guys,
Standing back, fellas.
You don't have any? Well, we found a surefire, I better learn to talk first, recipe for success in this election day, and we decided to pass it along to you. It's called an election cake. And after a thorough poll, we decided to nominate food writers Jane and Michael Stern. There's your title, food writers.
Okay.
To give us all the particulars on a cake that's rich in more than just political history. Good morning to both of you.
Hi.
Oh, okay. What is a traditional election cake? Let's take us from the beginning.
Well, election cake goes back to the early 1800s. America was a brand new country, and election day was really something to celebrate. It was voting was not just a duty; it was something that a really happy day, a red letter day on the calendar. And to celebrate it, people made an election cake.
And in fact, the election cake was served at the polling places in small towns throughout the West and Midwest as an incentive to bring people in from the farms and the prairies.
But there's another reason. There was another big incentive.
Oh, you know the real secret.
Right.
Everything that you couldn't go into any bars or taverns on election day, so they just loaded the cakes up with liquor.
We found one recipe from the early 1800s that calls for a quart of brandy in the cake.
Right.
How did they get home after that?
A moist, spicy cake that is absolutely snockered up to its eyeballs in fruit. The raisins and figs have been soaked in brandy, or in this case, Kentucky bourbon, and then blended into a spice cake.
I never indulge, but I think that's
absolutely.
a nice.
And you know, the political parties would compete. Who made the better cake? And if you voted for their ticket, you'd get a piece of it.
Really? Well, tell me, when did this begin and what year?
It was about 1800 when the country was brand new, and it went all the way through the 19th century and up into the 1920s and 30s. You still see recipes for it in the cookbooks, but it kind of faded out until recently as people are beginning to kind of rediscover some of our old culinary traditions. This is one of them.
In the old days, it used to be made in 50-pound batches, and it would take 12 hours to make, and there were always stories and folklore about men and women fainting from the effort of making election cake.
They didn't even get to vote because they passed out before. Well, let's talk about this cake and the recipe. So if people at home tonight want to have an election day party or a voting party, they can certainly make one at home.
This is our streamlined version. We don't expect anyone to spend 12 hours.
May we hold it up? It's absolutely beautiful.
We've decorated with the two most American of berries, which of course are cranberries and wild Maine blueberries.
As well as the miniature marshmallow berry.
How long did it take you to... Did you pass out after making this?
No, I never pass out.
This one only has a quart of bourbon in it.
Oh, right. Really?
I mean, a quarter cup,
I'm getting
excuse
dizzy. Let's look at the recipe now.
Okay.
I'm going to cut you a piece while we're doing that.
Okay, first you take a cup of raisins and a cup of chopped figs and a quarter cup of bourbon, and you simmer them until the bourbon is absorbed. Then you mix 3 beaten eggs, a cup and a half of dark brown sugar, 2 sticks of melted butter, 3/4 cup of molasses. And once that's all mixed, You take the dry ingredients, which I hope will be on the next graphic, and mix them. That is the flour, the baking soda, the salt, ginger, and cinnamon, and you alternately add those dry ingredients with the buttermilk to the liquid mixture. You pour it in a greased baking pan and bake for 45 minutes at 350
I don't mean to
degrees.
be ignoring you, but my mother told me never to talk with my mouth full, so I thought I would eat a little bit while. Thank you very much for
You're
being
welcome.
with us. This is delicious.
Tasty cake,
Again,
isn't
this
it?
is very tasty. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
That bourbon.
The time now 23 minutes past the hour.
I don't pretend to have all the answers to all the complex problems that face our nation. But I do believe that many solutions can be found if we'll just work together. If we use our common sense, we can balance the federal budget and get these interest rates down. If we use our common sense, we can protect Social Security and reduce the threat of nuclear war. And if we'll just use our common sense, we can put America back to work.
If you're confused by the variety of opportunities available to you as a saver or home buyer, visit Fidelity Federal and get acquainted with the specialists in thrift and home ownership. While Fidelity Federal offers a wide variety of financial services, our specialty continues to be savings and providing the opportunity for home ownership. Proud of a history of sound business principles, proud of our services to thousands of satisfied customers. That's Fidelity Federal.
25 past the hour, and these are the times when polls close in some more states around the country.
This is an Eyewitness News update, brought to you by The Sandman, 642 West Iris Drive.
Good morning, I'm John Megley. In the news at 7:25, one sure winner this election day is the weather forecast. For Nashville, it'll be sunny and cool today with the high about 58. There's another frost warning for tonight. It'll be clear and cool with frost likely. The low will be near 35. Tomorrow will be sunny and a bit warmer with the high around 65. Right now in Nashville, it's 37 degrees and clear. The relative humidity is 82%. The wind is from the north at 7 miles an hour, and the barometer is 30.27 and still rising. Metro Police still don't have any traffic accidents to report. Drive carefully if you're heading to the polls or work soon. Polls in Tennessee have been open now nearly half an hour. The main event election officials are counting on to compile a record voter turnout is the presidential race. Some political experts consider Tennessee a horse race between President Reagan and the Democratic challenger Walter Mondale. The reason most often given is 193,000 newly registered voters. Democrats think most of them will vote for their party. Republicans are confident they can get about half of that total. Polls will close tonight at 7, and our election coverage on Channel 5 will begin tonight at 6 on Eyewitness News. A Dixon County widow is $600,000 richer today. She was awarded that sum for the wrongful death of her husband. A federal jury ruled in favor of Bonnie Shepard following 2 hours of deliberations. Shepard claimed her husband died because Dixon County Sheriff's deputies failed to take him to a hospital after they arrested him last year. A neighbor testified she told deputies Shepard swallowed pills. The deputies thought Shepard was drunk and didn't need medical help. No word yet about an appeal by the Dixon County people charged in that case.
Jack, I'm glad to see that your new Sandman Mattress Market has a great selection of Wesley Allen brass beds, too.
That's right. This is Sandman Mattress Market and brass beds, and we have Nashville's largest on-hand inventory of Wesley Allen pure brass beds.
I love the variety of styles in both white and brass.
Solid brass with onyx trim, complete beds with return post, even a headboard by itself. We have over 30 styles in stock, all at factory direct broker prices.
The Sandman for brass beds, now open in Berry Hill near Hundred Oaks.
The Farmers Market Commission is expected to announce later today how it'll handle what's become a sticky wicket. Some tenants say renovation is ruining their investments. Penny Preston reports the commission has been trying to iron out the situation to please everyone.
If you went out to the farmers market, you wouldn't notice anything wrong. But there was some grumbling about renovations that turned into bitter complaints at the Farmers Market Commission meeting. Most of the merchants we talked to didn't have any complaints about the way things are run out here. The few that did wouldn't talk on camera. One man said he felt his problem could be solved at the meeting.
I don't want to be caught in a position where I can't expand, I can't grow, I can't make improvements.
Ellis Jake sells produce on the east end of one of the shelters. He doesn't want contractors to tear out the concrete there, as they have all over the market.
Personally, I feel like the improvements that I've made, and even on the corner, is more important than a few flowers.
A lawyer representing another market merchant, Jay Howell, also asked the commission to spare his space. But another tenant objected. His booth had already been altered.
I paid for the concrete strip to be put down, and I don't think it's fair to leave any other corners with concrete if you don't leave them all.
The planned improvements include planters on each end of the shelters with benches and banners. None of the attending merchants seemed excited about the market's facelift, but Councilman Ralph Cohen pointed out it was no surprise.
This has been reported in the paper since March, and I personally resent anybody taking exception to what this commission has done here in November.
In spite of Cohen's impatience, the commission members decided to put off a decision and hope to work out construction compromises that would do less damage to the merchant spaces, but improve the whole market's appearance. Penny Preston, Channel 5, Eyewitness News.
Attempts to relieve prison overcrowding could be hurt because Tennessee has a shortage of inmates who qualify for early release. The state has been told by a federal court to release 1,200 inmates by the end of '85. So far, the state parole board has released 900 more prisoners than the prisons take in, but eligible inmates are becoming scarce. Inmates convicted of nonviolent crimes with a year left on their sentences will now be considered for early release. Officials don't think that'll be enough to help them meet their quota, however. Our next news will be Eyewitness Morning News at 8 o'clock. Hope you'll join us. I'm John Megley. Have a good morning and don't forget to vote.
This has been an Eyewitness News Update, brought to you by The Sandman, 642 West Iris Drive.
We have our live cameras out waiting for Geraldine Ferraro to vote in New York City, Queens, as a matter of fact.
We saw Walter Mondale earlier with his family voting very early this morning.
So it is possible that we could have a female vice president-elect before this day is over. But Hollywood has beaten us to the punch, as is the case most of the time, with a female president. That's the part that Patty Duke Aston is playing in an upcoming TV series, and our Maria Shriver sat in on some of the shooting. She'll have her West Coast report coming up in this half hour.
Also ahead, Richard Leakey, who made an incredible discovery recently, the most complete skeleton of an early human ancestor ever found. He's here to talk about that 1.5-year-old man and more coming up. That's hard to believe, isn't it, Bill? Plus a peek into the voting of the future, computerized voting systems that will bring democracy into the 21st century. But first, here's the news with Bill.
One of the longest, most grueling campaigns in history is over for Walter Mondale, and the trail came to a stop at a voting booth in North Oaks, Minnesota this morning in a recreation center. The former vice president said he gave it all he had, and now it's all over with the push of a lever, all over but the long count tonight. Geraldine Ferraro is back in Forest Hills, Queens, New York, where she is voting today. Last night she wound up her campaign, arriving back home and going to her alma mater, Marymount College in Manhattan. They gave her the old college cheer. They sang, and it was a moment no one there will forget. President Reagan helps his own cause by voting today in Solvang, California, near his ranch. The president wound up his cross-country campaign last night. His backers turned out for a big rally in San Diego, and he refused to predict victory, urging the crowd to fight on.
This is the most important election in this nation in 50 years. And if we're to win it, we must win more than the presidency. We need a Congress that will tell Tip O'Neill that his days of obstructing the progressive legislation.
There was another stop in Los Angeles, and the president said the game is over. But he also said he won't declare a victory until he reads the scoreboard. Vice President George Bush wound up his campaign back home in Houston. That's where he will watch the returns. And before that, he may even get in a round of golf. With great relief, he told his cheering admirers that the campaign is indeed over. The pollsters predict the Republicans will hang on to the Senate, which they now control by a 10-point margin. The Republicans are not expected to gain any Democratic seats there, but among currently Republican seats, they may lose Tennessee, where Howard Baker is retiring. At risk is Iowa, where Roger Jepsen is threatened. neck and neck in North Carolina and Illinois. Elsewhere in the world, the passengers and crew of a Saudi Arabian airliner are safe this morning in Iran. Passengers say about 130 people on board were freed after 3 Saudi passengers attacked the 2 hijackers with an axe. The plane was forced to land in Tehran while en route from London to Riyadh. General Dynamics has obtained a court order against mass picketing at its Texas plant where strikers battled with police. 7 people were arrested for disorderly conduct in the first day of a walkout by 6,400 machinists and aerospace workers. Union leaders say the strike will disrupt production of F-16 jet fighters. Everyone knows the voter is like royalty on Election Day. In the Pacific Heights section of San Francisco, the voter is even treated like royalty. There, in a fancy mansion, a voting booth has been set up amidst all the splendor of crystal and art. And those who vote are even allowed to indulge their jaded palates with a little pâté or truffles. Live it up, because tomorrow we may all go back to bologna. Maria Shriver looks into some executive matters when we return.
The time now exactly 34 minutes past the hour, and these are the times when the polls close in some more states around the country. This portion of the CBS Morning News is sponsored by AT&T Computers. From AT&T Information Systems, when you've got to be right.
Look who's entered the personal computer game now.
Can I get in on this?
Go ahead. Introducing the AT&T Personal Computer for Business. It's fast and flexible, runs most business software, and has a high-resolution screen for superb graphics. In short, everything you need to put your business ahead of the game.
Your move.
The AT&T Personal Computer. For the dealer nearest you, call 1-800-247-1212.
Do you have cold feet?
Uh-huh.
Well, now you can take off your heavy wool socks, take off your full-length flannel nightgown. Introducing the Chatham Automatic Rest Warmer. It's better than an electric blanket because it provides comfortable, graduated warmth for your body and added warmth at your feet where you need it most.
And when your feet are warm, you're warm all over.
Gloria, is that you? The Rest Warmer by Chatham. When your feet are warm, you're warm all over.
Open up! Let us out! It's dark in here! Thanks, little fella! Hey, you're gonna be a happy cat! Yeah, look what your mommy got ya! Not there, over here! Ta-da! Happy cat! That should put a smile on your face! Oh, here she comes! Meet you at the ball!
Happy Cat brand cat food makes cats happy because all day long it stays moist and meaty tasting in the bowl.
Look at how happy he is! Yeah, especially on the inside!
Make your cat a happy cat.
Life's not always easy, and no one said it's fair.
Only one card provides peace of mind for nearly 80 million Americans, the Blue Cross and Blue Shield card.
But you can find some peace of mind when you hold on to the one that cares. Carry on with the life you're living. Carry the caring card.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield card.
Now 36 past the hour.
It's one of the few times when we have a chance to say something, and it may not be a very loud voice in terms of one individual, but hopefully a lot of us speaking together means something.
It does mean something. And, you know, Steve Baskerville, we're going to the weather. Bill Curtis could care less about the weather. He has been eating this election cake in between commercials and texts.
It's election day.
Well, that's right. You're being very patriotic.
That's what's left.
Wait do you see how fast I do this forecast? Where do you think I'm going?
Zip through it. There you go.
They're not holding this election a day too soon by any means, because tomorrow's weather could be much worse. I'll show you what's going on today, but a lot of bright skies across the country, and it's a reason why it is good news in terms of celebrating sunny skies where it's been so rainy, especially in the last week and a half. The Deep South has its problems this morning with cold air, but for the most part, the rain is up in New England, off the coast, just lingering, and it's going to be that way for the morning hours, but moving off to the east in general. It's going to be pretty nice by the end of the day, although cloudy. Now, a lot of snow showers, but it's in places where you don't mind as much, up in the mountain passes, and it could be rough in the Cascades and the Western Rockies and the Sierra Nevadas, but in general, the weather should be holding up in Northern California to have some rain showers now, but overnight tonight, what a difference one night will make, because the temperature span where it should be mild is not there anymore because the cold air is really taking over. They had frost and freeze warnings in effect early this morning in the deep south, and you can see the 30 degrees just hovering as far south as they can possibly go, at least for overnight Tuesday into Wednesday, so it will be a big chill factor tonight. Tomorrow, just to show you what the day after is like, you've got a lot of rain from the Dakotas all the way through the plains in Denver and Scottsbluff and Goodland, Kansas. There's a storm that will be centered right in the middle of the country, but the sunny skies hold up on both coasts. Except for that rain, it'll stay offshore in the Pacific Northwest. That's a look at the weather. Here's a look at some temperatures and forecasts for some other locations around the nation.
The Election Day forecast sounds like a winner. For Nashville, it'll be sunny and cool with the high about 58 degrees. Tonight will be clear and cold with frost likely, the low near 35. And tomorrow, fair and not as cool, the high around 65.
That is my election wrap-up, and not too bad for today. Have a good one. I'll see you tomorrow. Phyllis?
A bit nippy and a bit nice. Thank you, Steve. Geraldine Ferraro and Patty Duke Aston have something in common today. They're both candidates. Now, if that strikes you as mildly surprising, let's strike out for California, where Maria Shriver has our West Coast report. Maria?
Well, no matter what happens at the polls today, it appears Hollywood is ready for a woman president. Production has just finished on a new pilot here in town called Hail to the Chief. Patty Duke Aston stars as the happily married mother of two, who becomes what little girls now dream about, the first woman in the Oval Office.
Very quiet, please. Tape is rolling.
1984 has been called the year of the woman, and Hollywood is making sure it's on the bandwagon.
It's very interesting to be president, which in some ways it's kind of heady, even though you're only pretending. And in other ways you say, oh, if it's this complex on this level, I don't ever want to really fulfill my fantasy.
From childhood actor to commander-in-chief, Patty Duke Aston has done it all, on stage, screen, and television. But her fantasy to play the first woman president almost didn't come true.
For about 18 months, it sat there gathering dust. The Democrats nominated a woman vice presidential candidate, and suddenly they saw a reality base that I guess they hadn't seen before. It became a very hot project.
You know what time it is?
Oh, I'm sorry, Oliver. I had a lot of work.
Work, 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 work. That's all you do. Work, work, work.
Honey.
George Claiborne's wife works, but he still sees her at normal hours. They have a life.
Oliver, she opened a boutique. I'm president of the United States.
Of course, it isn't unusual for politics to be regarded as situation comedy in Washington or in Hollywood.
Benson got our feet wet politically. There had been an old bromide in television that politics was something that you never touched. We'll be irreverent, we'll be controversial. Most of all, we'll be funny.
I'm home now.
Well, I can't now. And if you noticed, I never can anymore.
Why can't you?
Because.
Because why?
Because you're my commander-in-chief.
What? I have not chosen to pattern this character after Geraldine Ferraro because I don't know all that much about Geraldine Ferraro, and I know more about me.
Did you say your prayers? I was building my test machine.
I love you, slugger. My children will tell you that I've always identified with the role because I always veto everything. This is, for me, the perfect way to live out my fantasy.
The producers of Hail to the Chief say the outcome of today's election will not affect whether their show ever gets on the air. So while Geraldine Ferraro waits to see if she will have a new job in Washington for the next 4 years, Patty Duke Aston waits in Hollywood, where a commitment of 13 weeks is viewed as something of a mandate.
Thank you, Maria. Coming up, we turn from politics and the future to the people in the past. You'll hear from anthropologist Richard Leakey. Bill can't wait.
Time now exactly 18 minutes before the hour, and these are the times when polls close in some more states around the country. This portion of the CBS Morning News is sponsored by Kellogg's Fruitful Bran, the delicious fruit and high-fiber cereal.
There's nothing different here.
I'd say something's very different here.
That something is Kellogg's Fruitful Bran. Fruitful Fruitful Bran is a feast of raisins, dates, and apples, all from Sun-Maid. It's the taste you've been looking for. Discover Kellogg's Fruitful Bran. Discover just how good a fiber cereal can taste.
When my arthritis kicks up, there's no beating deep heating.
Mentholatum Deep Heating Rub. Penetrating relief to soothe minor arthritis pain for hours.
When my hands are stiff and sore, there's no beating deep heating.
Mentholatum Deep Heating Rub. Penetrating relief to ease the stiffness of minor arthritis pain for hours. Mentholatum Deep Heating Rub or lotion.
There's no beating deep heating.
Make a big splash with orange juice, apple juice, or grape juice. Make it jello to create a sensation.
Instead of cold water, add Minute Maid fruit juice to Jell-O. Set and serve. It's a terrific snack.
It's juicy, it's light, and Mom thinks it's dynamite.
Make it jello to create a sensation. J-E-L-L-O.
Dogs will do anything for gravy. But pouring water on ordinary dry dog food won't make gravy. Gaines Gravy Train makes the gravy your dog is craving. Ordinary dries get watered down. Gravy Train dog food makes rich, thick, delicious, real beef gravy. No, pouring water on ordinary dry doesn't get your dog gravy. It just gets him wet. Gravy Train makes the gravy your dog is craving.
Time now 16 minutes before the hour, and here's the weather forecast for Election Day. Sunny skies and seasonable temperatures will greet voters over most of the nation today. However, across the Northeast, mostly cloudy skies could release a few brief showers or even a snow flurry as temperatures fall during the day.
And you're looking at Geraldine Ferraro live in New York City, the Queens borough. She has just voted and signed in as registered, and she's now going over to one of the machines, I think, and pointing out perhaps her name. I wonder who she voted for in that booth. We have quite a crowd, Secret Service men around, and we wanted to bring you this historic moment. Geraldine Ferraro, who just a couple minutes ago, she's acting as sort of a judge in there, maybe explaining to Laura. Now, Laura is going to close it and go ahead and vote. Who is Laura going to vote for? A little round of applause, and there's John Zuccaro and other members of the family in the background. And maybe Laura doesn't know how to close the curtains. There's that historic moment. Just a few weeks ago in Kenya, a nation in eastern Africa, anthropologists unearthed a vital new clue to the puzzle we call our past. The bones of a young male, an ancestor of ours, who lived 1.6 million years ago. Now, the men behind this extraordinary find, anthropologist Alan Walker and his partner, the director of the National Museums of Kenya, our guest this morning, Richard Leakey. He's the son of a couple whose names have been synonymous with the study of human origins, Louis and Mary Leakey, and it's a pleasure to welcome you, Richard. As I say, you're a hero of mine. You have a new book out called One Life, Richard Leakey. Let's deal with the most recent find, however. What's the significance?
Well, it's by far and away the most complete fossil human ancestor that's ever been found. It's a skeleton of a 12-year-old boy that lived 1.6 million years ago, and it just provides so much more information about this stage in evolution than anything that's ever been found before. It's the sort of thing that doesn't revolutionize anything, but provides so much information that one is slightly dumbfounded as how now to proceed.
What do we now know about the hominid that is the ancestor of man?
Well, I think the most significant thing is we're dealing with man. I think we're dealing with a human being, and those who've sort of been happy to think that 1.5 million years there were only ape men, this is a human being, and I think that is the most extraordinary thing that you sense when you look at the whole skeleton laid out on a table.
In this country, we have followed a kind of competition between paleoarchaeologists who are going in and trying to find yet an older fossil. Is that good or bad? Can publicity work against this race?
I think bad publicity can. I think the public awareness has been heightened by this apparent competition. I don't think there's any substance. I think every fossil that's found is significant to our overall understanding, and I think this new fossil that we found is simply one more link in the chain. There are certain questions that we still haven't been able to answer, and anyone who's in the field obviously is focusing their attention on unanswered questions. For instance, when did humans become upright for the first time? When did they walk on two legs? What was the stimulus for selection for intelligence? There's certain key questions which haven't yet been answered.
What's your theory on when they walked upright?
I think it's older than 4 and less than 10 million years, but just
And why?
where? Well, we have evidence for bipedality at 4, and there are fossils of apes around 10 that obviously weren't. Why it happened, I simply don't know.
Climbing out of the trees to go down to the savannah and hunt?
I think that's too simple. I simply don't have an answer to that, but I am convinced that an answer can be found.
Let's talk about your famous family here for just a moment. Louis Leakey, your father, of course. We have some portraits that you have put in your autobiography called One Life. This at a younger and thinner age, your father and brothers, I presume. Where is this?
This was taken in Nairobi. It's many years ago, and we were very much a family of very thin, skinny people, but there were probably more dogs than children.
And a dream life, as many of us would think, here on an expedition, and your young days were spent out in the bush.
Yes, the expeditions then were very different from the safari of today. They really were a safari.
You were filled with animals out there. You trapped some yourself, of course, and it was life in a tent on expedition.
Yes, a very delightful life it was too.
You did not choose initially to follow in your father's footsteps, did you?
No, I didn't. I was very threatened by the concept of working in such a dark shadow. He was a big man.
What made you change your mind?
I really changed because I saw there was really nothing else that I could sensibly do. I'd had a tremendous training under him, and here was a challenge, and I decided to take it. It struck me as a worthwhile challenge.
What disagreements did you have with your father?
Probably no more on a family level than most adolescents. I think professionally there were disagreements, but that was based on different evidence. The new evidence, I think, would have been sufficient for us to have had a lot of agreement.
There was a time in there that changed your life. It appeared around 1968 when you had a transplant. Your brother gave you one of his kidneys.
Yes, I got kidney disease in 1968. I had a transplant in 1979. I got 11 years on my own kidneys, and then they failed completely. And my younger brother, Philip, who's now a member of Parliament and Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs in the Kenyan government, very generously gave up one of his kidneys a week after he was elected to office.
How did it change your life, though?
Well, I wouldn't be here. I mean, it's completely changed my life. This is a second life for me. I can now do absolutely anything I want to do. I'm a free agent. I can eat and drink and play in any way.
Are you hopeful that Africa will survive the droughts and the hunger we see in Ethiopia and the population explosion, especially in your own country of Kenya?
Africa will certainly survive. Africa has immense problems and a desperate need for understanding and help from wherever we can get it. And my hope is that the great powers, particularly the West, will see fit to put a greater effort into understanding Africa's rather unique but important problems.
And you'll be there by Lake Turkana, digging, trying to find yet an older ancestor and the answers to those questions you pose about where we came from. One Life, an autobiography. Richard Leakey, thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Do you want to call the campaign?
No, I would vote for the best candidate.
Well said. No election day would be complete without a lesson in machine politics. That's coming up with some of our very own machines.
Time now, 9 minutes before the hour, and tomorrow on the CBS Morning News, complete coverage of who won and why.
In the Black Forest, where dappled sunlight reflects on chilling waters of the Rhine, there is a Black Tower. Black Tower, the brilliantly distinct white wine. Light, soft, with a golden burst of flavor from a happy mingling of grape and earth and sun. Black Tower, the imported white wine, in the towering black bottle. Because the taste so impressive, the bottle had to be too. Black Tower, the white wine in the black bottle.
Can you find the Simmons Beauty Rest mattress in this picture? Maybe this will help. It's clear that among all these premium mattresses, only Beauty Rest is totally different on the inside. Only Beauty Rest coils are wrapped independently so they can move separately and conform to every curve of your body to make firm feel comfortable. The Beauty Rest difference, you can see it. And oh, can your back feel it.
There's just no rest like a Beauty Rest by Simmons.
Norelco Rotatract, the shaving machine that challenges the world. Every blade, every electric, in closeness, comfort, speed, and performance. Only Norelco holds a charge up to 3 times longer than any leading razor. Only Norelco packs 3 floating heads with a patented twin-action shaving system. Get it? And like it, or get your money back. Remember, only a Norelco performs like a Norelco.
This commercial is dedicated to Friskies everywhere. With the frisky taste that has cats dancing in the aisles and jumping for joy. Now Friskies have a friskier taste because it's baked right in. Give your cat Friskies and you'll have a very satisfied cat.
Now, 6 minutes before the hour.
Because it's your right to vote. You have no voice if you don't vote.
Well, if you don't vote, it just means that your whole life is being affected by other people's desires and not yours.
Nothing like casting a vote of confidence in the future. So for Enders this morning, we'd like to show you the shape of things to come, the way you could be casting your ballot for president in the year 2000. These are the polls that close at 8 p.m. across the United States, and Phyllis and I both, and Steve Baskerville, invite you to use them. Absolutely. We are here with some voting machines, and let's get through these real fast. Why don't you go first, Steve Baskerville?
I'm the average voter now. You show me how this works, Steve.
What I'm going to do is take you down to the Deep South. Now, if you lived in Montgomery, Alabama today, this is how you would vote. It would be completely automated instead of the standard ways of voting, and it's bilingual in English and Spanish. But this ought to be exciting once the curtain closes. Look at the lights that flash. That tells you who you've not voted for as of yet. Now what you do, you can see the symbols for each party. They're up top. Suppose you want to vote straight Democratic, you'd press this button, and all the lights stop flashing, and you can see that you've keyed in.
What if you wanted to change your mind?
Okay, now let's take Walter Mondale. Just for the sake of example, we'll push him out. You can vote for the Libertarian Party, you can vote for Ronald Reagan. I'll push Reagan's button. You can see it lights up. Now,
and then you push this little green button down here.
Now, at the end of that, you can push it in and your vote is registered. Now, if you don't want to do that, now you can actually press one of these buttons and you can get a write-in
normally
choice.
It works.
Normally, but why don't I just vote, okay? So
okay, there it is.
There you go.
Straight
your vote is registered.
There you
Come
go.
over here because I've got something really to show you.
Oh,
this is a machine, computerized voting machine, that is being now evaluated in 4 states. Here's our magic little marker, and it looks complicated, especially if you have not used a computer before. It is not. I'm starting to vote. I'm voting for secretary, and I can vote for James Madison, James Monroe. I just take this little marker and make my dot. But how about a write-in candidate? How would you write in? Of course, on a computer. I'm going to make a dot right there, and then I select Phyllis.
Oh.
And I have to spell it out here.
I'm taking this opportunity to formally announce that I am running for...
I may not spell it correctly. How about 2 L's? Okay, well, I can go back, but I'm going to go ahead and try and record that as I press my little
You're very
button.
good at this.
Thank you very much. And I've written you in, misspelled and all.
P-Y-L-I-S.
Okay, I can go to the next page. I can vote for 1 or for 2 as the instruction goes. Or I can stop voting at any time, and it even gives me a little warning. Caution, you have undervoted. Go to the end. It said you did not cast a vote in 5. Do you want to go back? Press here. If not, you can go right ahead.
Is this too complicated, do you think?
Well, maybe I just explain it in a complicated way. It's very simple to me.
I think the children would
like
love playing on this machine. This is
This may be the future. It is not being used officially at any place right now, but it is being evaluated.
You know, not only in Montgomery, there are going to be people walking into voting booths in Kentucky and Tennessee. You're going to find people in New Mexico as well, going in and trying to place their vote on a machine like this one, totally automated, and we've come a long way from the old paper ballots.
I can't think of a better way to go off the air today.
I can't either. This is terrific. We're about to close up shop, of course.
I'm going to put it on. I'm going to be very vain.
You look much better in that
Thank you.
than we do. We'll be back tomorrow with the CBS News election headquarters, all the winners, all the losers, and the reasons why. Bill Moyers will join our coverage. Dan Rather will be with us, Jim Baker, and every politician in the land.
Plus White House Chief of Staff James Baker, Reverend Jesse Jackson, South Carolina Senator Fritz Hollings, and when it rains, it pours. We'll have live coverage of the liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery. And as we leave you now, we are beginning this put your hats on. I feel ridiculous here. We're leaving you this election day. Let's see again people doing what millions of people are doing around the country, voting.
Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow, and vote. We'll
Goodbye,
join
everyone.
You've always relied on CBS News when it counts. Tonight it counts. Live coverage begins with the CBS Evening News at 6:30 p.m. Eastern.
When punks start hassling decent people, I make it my business.
Get ready for the baddest Mr. T ever. He's the toughest man in the world.
Just happen to have these for you.
Wednesday.
This is CBS.
Putting someone you love in a nursing home is a tough decision to make. We'll have some advice that will help you cope with that decision this Tuesday on Talk of the Town.
We'll show you what is and isn't safe in baby equipment. Tish Gaddis will help you clean up the kitchen.
And if your old man is snoring, we'll let you know what you can do about it.
We sure hope you'll join us.
Catch Talk of the Town with Debbie and Harry each weekday morning at 10:30 from the friends you can turn to, your friends at Channel 5.
I've worked for Channel 5 for the past 16 years. I feel a definite responsibility to be accurate, fair, and thorough when reporting the news. Wherever the story takes us, just about anywhere in the world, I have been there. Caring, loving people. That's what's good about Nashville. Well, this is our home. If we're not involved in Nashville, who's going to be involved in Nashville? I think my job is great.
Chris Clark, a friend you can turn to.
Channel 5. Each year, patients at Children's Hospital compete to see whose drawings will become the holiday gift tags.
And here are 3 of our 4 winners who are all well now. Gina Gunn, Mandy Beliles, and Gerald Martin.
The other is Annie B. Manning, who couldn't be here today.
Buy and use these holiday gift tags, which help support Vanderbilt Children's Hospital.
Every package contains 2 tags of each design, and they only cost $1. Order yours by sending your name, address, and check to this address.
WTVF salutes Vanderbilt University.
From WTVF, Nashville.